Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Oh, I love this one. Listen carefully. A homeschooling mom posted that her kid called her on the telephone from his room and told her he missed the bus and won't be in today. I love that. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America on this Monday, October 19th. Boy, have we got a busy day. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell. And good morning to you from our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with not only the best in tires, but also a very safe, clean environment, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have a patriot, a real live patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, I'm a real live patriot.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, my friend. Well done. And right now we're going to skedaddle to the weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental with Roger and the crew at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. And they've got all the equipment to blow out your sprinkler systems and your pipes before old man winter comes in and freezes us out. All the equipment to winterize your gardens, too, by the way, at K&R Rental. Long and short-term rental on all the tools you need and the best of equipment. Don't forget, give them a call, 678-3122. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Cooling temperatures and maybe some snow showers by the week's end. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies by the time we hit the afternoon, high of 65, and a slight breeze out of the west. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high of 62, overnight low of 41. Mostly sunny and 59 for Wednesday. By Thursday, cooling down to 44 as the day's high, and maybe by Saturday, chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast, only a high of 43. That's a look at your weather for 7th Ranch.
Ooh, bite your tongue, don't say snow. Not yet, no. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Oh, my goodness, you can't miss them. They're right there on the Burley-Paul Highway, serving you with the best of tools and equipment, as I said, for both long and short-term rental. You get a hold of them today, K&R Rental, 678-3122. Now, I want to tell you this right up front, audience, and to the caller that's waiting. We're going to have a lot more commercials for the next 2 weeks leading up to the election. So bear with me and do not get mad at me, because we are going to get them through in the fine fashion that we can. That being said, I want to remind everybody about Darrow's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. The place. It is the place to take your clothes if you care about your clothes. They cost you a lot of money, and you want to take care of them and elongate their life. This is the place to go. Darrow's Cleaners with Kevin and Cindy and the whole crew. They really take the time and effort to make you look good. When you pick those clothes up, absolutely fantabulous. Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And a quick note, I just talked to these folks about, I'd say about a half hour, 45 minutes ago, and that's Ramsey Heating and Electric. Had a chance to visit with Rita a little bit. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, and they're open early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday, for literally all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Absolutely, they are the best. With almost 7 decades of serving you, Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Caller, I've got one more good word, and then I'm going to be right there to you. I want to remind everybody, go vote. We, the people, have the civic obligation to choose our leadership. Be sure and vote for the candidate of your choice on November 3rd. This message paid by the re-elect District 27 Representative Fred Wood Committee, Steve Westfall, Treasurer. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning to you, Zeb. Monday morning, and we're ready to go, right?
Absolutely. Quickly, I'm going to tell everybody they got to work with me a little bit. What can I do for you?
Okay, the FBI, the people who pound the ground, are really wonderful people, and they should not be scorned for it. But the FBI upper level at this time is just as corrupt as with James Comey. Do you agree?
Well, I do not have a dossier or any files on any of the individuals, nor do you. And to say that all of them in the hierarchy of the FBI are guilty or have blemished the FBI and their service to America, you can't say that, and neither can I. What we can say of the notables that we are aware of, whether it's Comey and with his smug, arrogant attitude, or whether it's Peter Strzok, or whomever, we can say that they absolutely did not do their job with diligence, honesty, and integrity. So that's where we are with the FBI.
No, that's not where we're at, because they got all these documents on emails and everything from Hunter Biden, and they just sat on them.
No, you're missing my point, Keith. Keith, you're missing my point. The hierarchy, and we don't know who all the hierarchy is or are that have done this and tried to sequester a lot of information. We do know, like I said just a moment ago, the evil of James Comey, and I'm going to lump Ray and others into this category of suppressing information. And until we get more and are forced to have them show their cards and face up poker, then we can start condemning the people by names. I'm a little hesitant to denigrate the FBI in its entirety, and I think you'd agree with that.
Like, if you'll take a moment, I got to wipe the egg off of my face.
No, you don't have to do that. It's just that.
You.
Well, no, Keith, I'm not trying to.
I'll figure it out. And you come along and they present me with the facts, and I cannot deny them.
No, Keith, I'm not trying to at all denigrate you. And by the way, you and Nancy are so special. Thank you for your kindness. Tell Nancy her cookies were, past tense, they're gone, delicious. Believe me, I loved them.
Well, I can't help it. She just keeps on making.
I know it. Hey, I appreciate your call, and I'll guarantee you one thing, Keith. I'm on your side. I want to see a complete investigation, and I want Knuckles to be wrapped with the absolute lack of integrity the FBI is showing. So there, I'll agree with you on that point. How's that?
How's my star? Is it still up there?
Yeah, it's on the wall. It's bent just a little bit, but I'll go straighten it out. Thank you for your call.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
All right, caller, I'll be right there. I promise not to let you wait too long. I want to remind everybody about Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Guess what's coming? All the delicious turkey dinners will be on the menu soon, along with all the delicious pies. Oh, my. You're going to love the menu choices, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and all the desserts at a great place to eat American America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and we doggone sure hope we can get started up again. Thank you, Denny's Restaurant. Real quick, caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Clark Kaufman asked for your vote to re-elect him as Idaho State Representative, District 25B. Even more, Clark wants you to get out and exercise your right to vote. Yes, Clark Kaufman has served Idaho very well since 2012, serving you, serving all of Idaho. In order to logically keep our voices heard, Clark encourages you to vote yes on the constitutional amendment, changing the language to simply require the legislature to consist of 35 districts. Let's all do our part. Get out and vote, paid for by the committee to re-elect Clark Kaufman for House 25, Seat B. Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. The boys at the top in the FBI in the blue suede shoes are the problems, not the blunts at the bottom that are doing all the dirty work. So, as far as that goes, can't condemn the whole FBI, but
that's right.
My main thing this morning is the moderation, this new debate that's coming up. This communist that's going to be the moderator of that thing, she doesn't know the difference between a debate and an inquisition. This is what the problem is, and I hope Trump chews her up alive.
You know, I am so glad that you brought that up. And caller number 2, don't go away. I'll be right there. I absolutely agree with you that the next moderator for the next so-called debate is as far left as you can get. And my question right back at the Presidential Committee on Debates, why don't you just throw all the names in the hat, whether it might be Sean Hannity, whether it might be someone from CNN, I don't care who they are, and draw in a fair drawing as to who's going to be the moderator. But there has not been any conservative viewpoints or moderators, and this woman, oh boy, she is going to be a lefty.
Well, I imagine she is. She's no good. And I hope that Trump brings up the crookedness of the entire Biden family. And why aren't they being picked on by the IRS about where all that money went? They are paying taxes on it, or they've got a stash in their safes at home?
The lack of information that's going on the news networks, except for Fox News, about Hunter Biden's laptop and some of the crap, and that's what it was. I hate to use that word on the radio. I don't like that word, but that's the best way to describe it, that has been put out by the Associated Press to try to shelter the Biden family and shelter this investigation is absolutely ridiculous. I'm on your side. If the left is going to win this next election and we have to be subdued and subjected to their evil, we better start fighting back.
Well, I hope he makes that the big subject about the Biden's crookedness.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And as far as that moderator is concerned, Kristen Welter is going to be the moderator. She is absolutely a very left-wing moderator. Her parents, as a matter of fact, have contributed thousands upon thousands and thousands of dollars to the left wing of the Democratic Party. I got to run. Tony, God bless you, man. Thank you. All right. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. I want you to remember, vote November 3rd, and be sure to vote yes for the levy increase for the Rock Creek Fire District. They are always there to serve us. Now, let's help them. Vote yes for the Rock Creek Fire District levy, paid for by Rock Creek Firefighters Association. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, hi, good morning. Last week, I can't remember what day it was, Thursday or Friday, but we were driving down Overland, and on the corner, there's a guy that had a bunch of Trump flags and paraphernalia and all sorts of things. And he said that this Tuesday night, there's supposed to be a rally on Oakland going up and down Overland. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not, but I will say this. There have been literally, I guess to encompass all of them, there have been so many unplanned rallies for Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, there was a huge one back east where I think over 6,700 vehicles just got to be a part of the great big impromptu rally in Philadelphia. Thousands of vehicles, and I'm all in favor of it. I'd support it. I'd be there if they had a road rally with my big old truck. I'll be there.
They even had a tractor rally, along with boat rallies, car rallies, truck rallies. I saw a tractor rally. It was amazing.
Well, let me ask you, you haven't really made a position. You haven't made a position yet, and dear lady, I want you to commit yourself. Are you for?
Oh, I have.
Are you for Donald Trump?
What's that?
I said, are you for Donald Trump?
Oh, you betcha. I want to be in that rally. So you could find out and report that on the radio. That would be awesome.
Well, you know, a lot of things that go on in the community, if they're not called in, and I'm 35, 40 miles away, it would be great if you could check it out for me, find out the parameters of what's going on and where, and I will put it on the air.
I checked with the chamber. They didn't know anything. I checked with both newspapers. They didn't know anything. So I don't know.
No, you find out and call me, and I'll guarantee you we will hype it up, and I'll even be in the rally because I'm absolutely a member of the Hate the Left. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget Dino Septic Service. My. These people do a job that you and I don't want to do. You don't want to be out there pumping a septic tank. No, you don't. You don't want to be out there taking care of all the liquid waste removal or sewer and sink drain lines clean. And they remind everybody better blow out those water lines before Thanksgiving. All of a sudden it's going to turn to ice and it ain't going to melt till next spring. Don't forget Dino Septic Service. Rupert number 436-6526, Burley 678-1638, and Twin Falls 735-8281. Fast, fair, friendly service by the best. Dino Septic Service with the big truck that pulls in your yard that says, smells cargo on the way. How about some more calls? Give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am going to be doing something a little different every morning on this program, and if I forget, I want you to remind me. Every hour, the first hour, is going to be called our Washington Hour in honor of our first president, George Washington. The second hour is going to be called our Lincoln Hour in honor of Abraham Lincoln. And our third hour is going to be named in recognition and appreciation for, I think, one of the greatest presidents ever, Ronald Reagan. The reason I am doing this is to combat the idiocy and the absolute empty-headedness of the left, like what's going on in San Francisco. There is a major push right now, and it's going to be more than San Francisco. It's going to go across the board. You can bet on it, of renaming all the schools that have Washington or Lincoln or Jefferson as their namesake for the school. It's a purging of our nation's heritage and our forefathers that I won't stand for. So from now on, the first hour again is going to be called the Washington Hour on this program. Stick that in your ear, lefties. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. Hey, go and vote November 3rd and vote yes for the amendment HJR4. This is really important. And leave the number of legislative districts at 35, guaranteeing that our voices will be heard on all issues, and it also preserves rural representation. Paid for by Speaker of the House of Representatives Scott Bedke, District 27, Sarah Bedke, Treasurer. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Last week, in my blog, I wrote a condemning blog against China and the Chinese government because they are absolutely worthless and inhumane. And I am going to continue berating and belittling the country of China, not the people, but the government, because they are sick and depraved and have no value for human life. I'll tell more right after this. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. And they do not have they do not put any value on a human life. They just look at them for what they can mine out of them and they can produce, and the government can make money.
Well, let me ask you this, seriously, and I'm so glad you called. And we got a little feedback here with Doug, Sean, if you would, please. Why in the world is it any common sense whatsoever to blame, like President Donald Trump, or in the UK, blame their leadership, or in France, etc., with the coronavirus, which is a Chinese let-loose virus to the world? Why are we not condemning and damning China for the heinous acts that they have performed to let loose with this disease and pandemic that has hurt and stymied everybody's life? But the point is, in this country, who gets the finger pointed at who? It's Donald Trump that takes the blame by the idiotic, absolutely senseless and stupid left.
Well, the answer is, look at who's benefiting from China. And you're not going to poke a finger in the eye of someone that is giving you lots of money and kickbacks to you. Like, the Democrat Party is in bed with the Communist Party of China. It is coming out that Joe Biden, was taking money from China. And I heard Steve Bannon talking this weekend. He thinks that Joe Biden could not get a security clearance with all of this hanging over his head.
You know, it's so interesting. I chuckled, and I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm laughing because when you called me on that, it is one of the most obvious statements that could be ever said. I mean, with all the background material of Hunter Biden, this is a kid that's a drug addict. This is a kid that was thrown out of the military. This is a kid that absolutely has been showing through all of his life that he's not mature, not dependable, and all of a sudden he becomes a millionaire liaison with a country with his daddy?
Yeah, that's how it works when you're connected.
I guess. I mean,
you have no conscience and you do not care about the America or the American people. You only care about yourself.
I just am at a loss, Doug. I really am at a loss. How NBC, CBS, ABC, CNN, and all the other so-called news networks, which aren't worth the powder to blow them up, would ignore a story, including the Associated Press. Did you read that headline in the paper Saturday about the Bidens? Listen to this. It's as twisted for the Bidens as ever. Biden emails episode illustrates risk to Trump from Giuliani. In other words, it's nothing to do except Giuliani's using this as a focal point to get Trump reelected. How asinine and stupid.
Exactly, and people that wrote that need to watch that episode of Mark Levin.
Yes.
And Rudy Giuliani, and the questions and the papers and the emails he has produced. I mean, the people that are fighting against this are the ones that are in with them.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's obvious, folks. They do not want America to be America. They want America to be a third world country. That way they can have their one world government. I mean, it's even Ray Charles can see this coming.
I love that line. Doug, quickly give us the seniors. I've got to give my cookies away right now on Monday, so go ahead.
Hey, everybody, let's do what we can for our senior centers. Go visit them, donate to them, volunteer. Volunteer and do a Meals on Wheels.
There you go.
Delivery for a while and see how precious it is to those people who receive the Meals on Wheels and how they depend on it.
I love that idea. Doug, you are wearing your thinking cap today. Thank you so much.
Go eat there and leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
God bless you, man. Thanks. Hey, I got to give away some cookies right now to Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. Oh, the people over there in that Rupert area are so lucky to have that bakery and so lucky to have that restaurant right there. Fantabulous. And if you win the cookies, call them and let them know when you'll be in to pick them up, okay? Here is the question, and the number to call, 436-2244 or 1-866-927-4587. On the TV program, The Golden Girls, what star of that show was married to a game show host? On the TV program, The Golden Girls, what star from that show was married in real life to a game show host? Give me a call quickly at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I am waiting for your call to come in, I'll repeat the question one more time, and quickly give me a call and you'll win the cookies. On the TV show program, The Golden Girls, what star of that show in real life was married to a TV game show host? Aha, we have a caller. Good morning, you're on the air. Talk to me, caller. I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Betty White?
All right, it was Betty White, and what was her husband's name?
I forgot.
Well, I tell you what, you're right that she was married to a game show host, and I'll help trigger your memory a little bit. The TV show that he was the host of was called Password. Do you remember his name now?
No.
All right, it was Alan Ludden. But you are right on Betty White. You're right on Betty White. What's your name?
Margaret.
Margaret what? There's a zillion Margarets.
Oh, yeah. Bingham.
All right, Margaret, you are the lucky winner. Call over to Sophie's Chatterbox and let them know when you'll be there for your cookies, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right, God bless you. Thank you very much. The answer is Betty White, and that lady's still alive. I think she's almost 100 years old right now, or close to it, 99. And it was Betty White, and she was married to Password game show host Alan Ludden. And very unfortunately, then Alan passed away. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about Paul Thompson. Yes, November 3rd, District 24A. Listen closely now. Needs Paul Thompson in the Idaho House. Paul knows we need values established by God. Fiscal responsibility and all life matters. The right to protect ourselves and guaranteed freedom to worship and speak in a strong state education system, and patients are in charge, not politicians. And above all, our Constitution is never second to anyone. Vote Paul Thompson, District 24A, paid for by Paul Thompson for Idaho, Issy Gibbs, Treasurer. All right, it's your turn. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, this whole scenario with the Bidens, the virus, the cover-ups are unbelievable, and the lies that just keep going on. And one of the, I'm a research scientist, so I have some contacts all over. I got an interesting email over the weekend about masks, because we practically see the whole country and the world covered up with masks. Well, the California Department of Health said these people that are putting on these masks that we're typically using for the virus, they are not working well because the smoke particles are such that they go right through that mask. But here's the kicker. The COVID-19 virus is a third side of the smoke. So putting on a mask to prevent the virus from getting in your system is really futile.
Okay, hold on a second.
Makes you feel better.
All right. Okay, let me get in here, Adrian. As you know, I'm in political season, and that means I haven't got a lot of time for every call. I got to make sure everything is right. I want to agree with you. And one thing that I've asked questions of, and a lot of people can't give me an answer, is that if you wear a mask and you're up, let's say, next to somebody that's been exposed and or is a carrier of COVID-19, and the particles are in the air, your mask is going to take those particles and hold them on the outside of the mask. And when you touch the mask or take it off, your hands are going to have that, and you're going to be touching yourself. And really, I don't see that the masks are doing anything good. Am I going to wear one? Yes, to protect myself, possibly from some sick person. Am I going to have any mask worn around my wife, who is very susceptible right now to diseases? Doggone right. Nobody comes in my house without wearing a mask. So I agree with you that I'm not in favor of them, but right now I'm going to protect my family and myself.
Well, and the other problem is the health hazard of wearing a mask, because you're breathing back in
That's right.
dioxide. And another part of the information that I received, people are getting sick because they're not breathing out and they're not getting enough oxygen.
That's right.
You have oxygen 24/7, not just part of the day.
I agree.
So by wearing some of these masks, the ones that are extremely tight, you're not getting much oxygen. And people that are working with these tight masks all day long, I mean, they're exhausted if they're on their feet and doing anything physical.
I agree.
So it's just really, but the misinformation, the other part of it that I wanted to mention, you mentioned about the Wuhan laboratory. Do you realize Dr. Fauci, National Institute of Health, gave Wuhan $3.17 million prior to all of this virus outbreak? So I think he's up to his eyeballs in this thing, and he's been given information on both sides, and unfortunately Trump inherited him. He didn't ask for him, he inherited him, and it's been a real disaster to have him and Gates. They were roommates, in college.
Yeah.
And I don't trust either one of them as far as I could pick of them.
I agree with you and everything you said, Adrian. God bless you for your thoughts this morning. Thank you, and have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, sir. Talking about Fauci like Adrian was, and boy, this one really stirs the gravy a little bit. He came out with a story this last week, and you talk about grading me and making me mad, it should you too. Dr. Anthony Fauci said last week that Americans should rethink their usual plans for Thanksgiving gatherings. He said we really got to double down on fundamental public health measures that we talk about every day, and therefore at Thanksgiving we should rethink about getting together with our loved ones. I got a word for Dr. Fauci, of which I can't use on the radio, but what's next? No Christmas? Oh, yeah. Well, we stop Thanksgiving and we stop Christmas. Oh, well, let's stop New Year's Eve. Oh, and then, by golly, in the spring, no Lent, no Easter. I am not going to abide by this garbage. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, one quick thing this morning, Zeb, about if the Democratic Party should get in, we won't have to worry about the Mexican border. The big problem we're going to have is, I'll bet you, there'll be more Chinese agents pouring into this country to infiltrate the Democratic Party.
I make no doubt about it. I have no use, underline the word no use, for the Chinese government. I think they're all the lowest of vermin in the world. I don't trust them. They released this virus onto the world, and so many Americans have had their lives, along with other people in other parts of the country, absolutely turned upside down. Every country in the world should be damning the Chinese government.
Well,
don't listen to the Democratic propaganda. Just get out there and vote. We are going to win.
Yeah, I hope so, Tony. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, dear friend. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental. 3 locations to serve you, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. And they've got all the big dudes, all the Bobcats. They've got all the shapes and sizes, all the trenchers, all the scissor lifts. They've got all the equipment for lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying. And along with that, they've got the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators. Oh, you don't know how to run them? They'll teach you at Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got excellent lease programs and great financing programs. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location for Barry Equipment and Rental. All right, it's your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We're in the Washington hour, our first hour. And good morning to you, caller. I hope you're going to have a good day.
Good morning, and I am going to have a good day. Good Washington hour to you. My thoughts and comments today, this morning, about the coronavirus is I remember being in, maybe it was high school or junior high, but we had something scary, some big flu or epidemic going on then that was killing a bunch of animals off. I think it was birds. And they end up having to exterminate a whole bunch of birds and chickens. And then it was, then several years later, there's another one, and I can't remember that. But my question is how come every 4 years there's a big sickness or something worrisome happening? And then after Corona, what's going to be the next one? And how much further are they going to carry it? Heck, they got us to stay home and stay away from everybody and not going to church, but it's okay to go to Walmart. I mean, how much further are we going to let them push us into this?
I wish I had an answer for you, and you are very correct about all the problems, pitfalls, pratfalls, and theatrics that the left will gather up and try to sway things their way. I think the list is endless, and until the Democratic Party falls apart at the seams, which I hope it does after this election, time will only tell.
Well, every time something comes up, they take a little bit more and a little bit more. This time they take a bigger chunk than they usually do of our freedoms. Each time they take a little bit more and a little bit more and make more and more mandates, request more and more money, which doesn't go to what it's supposed to. But, hey, that's politics sometimes.
Amen.
But it's just frustrating. I'll talk to you later, Mike.
Believe me, I'm on your side, Riley. I appreciate it. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I don't know if you watched the town halls last week. And, Sean, for some reason, it sounds like everything went real low all of a sudden. If you could boost it back up, I don't know what happened. But the debates that were on television last week were disgustingly biased. I purposely switched stations from the so-called Biden interview on the town hall with George Stephanopoulos with ABC to go over to NBC and watch the Trump town hall. It was day and night. Yes, I am a Trump supporter. I am biased and prejudiced. But when you looked at the questioning and you saw the personality that was being portrayed by Savannah Guthrie of NBC, always interrupting the president, very rudely interrupting, and throwing her philosophy of leftists into the conversation, and never gave Trump really a chance to answer questions in his own way, and then go back to the Biden interview with Stephanopoulos, and it was absolutely pathetic, the pandering and the backslapping that was going on between ABC and helping Biden versus NBC and denigrating Trump. That's the fact. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
That's a fact, Jack. For sure. It's terrible what they're doing. These debates are not debates. They're hammer sessions, and they're not fair in any way. And anybody that can't see through that has to be blinder and deafer than a board.
Well, I agree with you, Jerry, but right now we're 2 weeks away from the election, and the sleaze and the slop that's coming from the Democratic Party and some of their allegations and the overlooking of news that needs to be covered and questions that need to be asked about the Bidens, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, the big guy, is absolutely looming as a threat to our whole democracy.
Well, you know, this has been going on for 8 years. We had Hillary before, and look at all the crap she's been tied to. And Bill the same way, and Obama the same way. You know, they were terrible people to be in the government. They have no business, as far as I'm concerned, running for anything. It's just a shame that we'll let our politicians get by with this kind of stuff.
I couldn't agree more. Jerry, I can tell you sound better. You must feel better. God bless you for your call. I got to run to the weather. Thank you so much.
Well, don't try running. Let's walk.
All right, Jerry. Thank you much. Our weather forecast is brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And oh my, hearing affects every aspect of your life. You don't want to be walking around going, huh? Hey, what did you say, Martha? No. You need to make sure that you have your hearing checked and maintain your hearing health. Get a hold of our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Call for an appointment today at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Cooling temperatures and maybe some snow showers by the week's end. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies by the time we hit the afternoon, high of 65, and a slight breeze out of the west. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high of 62, overnight low of 41. Mostly sunny and 59 for Wednesday. By Thursday, cooling down to 44 as the day's high, and maybe by Saturday, chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast, only a high of 43. That's a look at your weather for Deborah Duran.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Great job. Oh, my goodness, she said it's going to drop off the table on like Thursday and Friday and get really chilly and possibly snow. Oh, my. Our weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And don't forget, they are the best at what they do. And hearing loss affects every person differently. Please don't put it off. Get a hold of them today, right behind the Minidoka County Hospital, across from the emergency room. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Calls. Whoop, I didn't even have to ask. The magic phone line. Sean over at our station punched the button, and good morning. How are you?
Deb, how are you?
I'm peachy wonderful, bordering on great. What's going on in your world?
Well, my son plays, he has a band, and he plays all over the West, and he played at Park City Saturday night. And I haven't been to Park City for a while. I go skiing down there, but I hadn't been there for a bit. And it said on the sign, stay open, wear your mask. And in that county, whatever the hell county it was. And all they wanted you to do was put on the mask, walk through the doorway, and then pull it off. That was the charade. And this is basically the charade everywhere you go. You can't drink. You can't eat with a mask on. So once you're inside, social distancing is impossible, especially if you have some entertainment and people are enjoying it and dancing and they're together. There's just no way. And so it's nothing but a charade. No matter where I go, it's just a charade. And that the masks, they're filthy. After about 5 minutes, you should change them out because... And then people, wear them forever. They keep using them over and over again. And now the mask, well, you know this, that 80% of the people that got COVID are the ones who wore their masks obediently.
All I'm going to say is this. I have nothing to argue with you on this subject. The Center for Disease Control admitted that, and I'm reading right from a form that was sent to me by the CDC, that admits 85% of COVID-infected always or often people wore the masks. So that's 85%. I can tell you this, that mask wearing is exactly like you said, over a short period of time. The lack of fresh oxygen and the mucus and everything else that's on the inside of the mask is not healthy for people. And am I going to wear a mask, Randy? Yes, in certain cases and conditions. Am I going to force everybody to wear a mask if they come into my home? Absolutely, because of Deanne's condition. This sounds a little crass. I think you'll understand. I don't care about the visitors. I care about my wife. And that's the situation we are listening to and following.
Right. See, this is the thing. You're right, and I agree, and I would respect it all day long. The thing I've always had trouble with, and like I've said to Mr. Brad Little on this program, I said, just turn us loose. Let us be responsible. We will. And if the people that aren't being responsible, believe me, somebody's going to come along and tune them up.
Well,
they will not continue to do it. And so, I know you got another...
No, I want to make a statement to you. Hold on, Randy. Hang on a second. I want you to just answer this quickly. What were your thoughts when you read that headline in the paper the other day about Dr. Anthony Fauci saying Thanksgiving celebrations with families might not be prudent? It made me mad as can be.
Well, throwing him into the Snake River would be prudent.
I knew you'd end it on a high note. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Bye.
All right. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, as long as you're talking about COVID again, there was an article in The Voice. It was called The Local, at the headlines, and it showed the scale of all since, I think it's been since April, that how it's increased and went down and everything. And now we're back up there very, very high. But there was no mention of one single death.
Yeah.
We didn't have any? Or are they just whistling in the graveyard?
Well, Keith, the thing that I always come back to, and I think you'll agree with me, is that we're talking about a virus. We're talking about a virus that is not going to die. It's not going to reside underneath the doormat. It's not going to go away. It's not going to pack its bag and leave Dodge City. It's always going to be here. Until we come up with an absolute lead pipe cinch shot or vaccine that's going to stop, stymie, or kill the virus within our systems, we're going to have it. We're going to have this virus with us. And it's asinine and bordering on stupidity to think that we have to stop our lives, live in a cave, pull the rock in after us, and poke sticks at anybody that gets close to us. I've had it. I'm fed up.
Well, I'll add one note to it. I know the governor is a personal friend of yours, and I don't have any animosity towards him at all. But if he shuts this state down again, he won't have a chance of getting reelected.
Well, I think right there is the key. I'm not as good a friend to anybody that would stymie and stop our economic conditions and or shut down businesses and cause hardship to anybody. So there I draw the line. I will never, underline this, Keith, put it up on your wall, I will never support another lockdown from this governor and or anyone on a nationwide basis.
It's just been proven, not talked about, but proven that the lockdown didn't do us any good at all. There might have been a few more deaths, but we've always had deaths during the winter.
Yeah, well, then when you start adding
all kinds of things.
And when you start talking about drug abuse, heavy drug abuse that started up with certain individuals, the opioid crisis, the suicide crisis, don't get me started on this. No more lockdowns. I'm not in favor of any lockdowns whatsoever, and friendship has nothing to do with my opinion. Keith, I got to run. Thank you so much.
Okay, bye. Bye.
All right, sir. I want to remind you about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Now, you heard the weather forecast, and there might be some of that angel dandruff falling on the roadways here in southern Idaho this weekend. That means maybe snow. Well, you better remember it's tire changing time, and remember that your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers have all the tires, all the tread designs for all sizes, all vehicles. I'm telling you, get in there today. And also get those batteries checked out. If your battery's kind of iffy, you better check out a new one so you're not sitting out in the cold in the morning with a click, 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 click on your starter. Stop in. 7 locations: James and Buell, Dan on Poline in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. That's going to wrap up our first hour, the Washington hour. I hope that upsets some of the lefties. And next hour, the Lincoln hour, we're going to have Rick Manning along with Frosty Woldridge. And I tell you right again, we're going to have a lot of commercials and a lot of good words for our folks that are running for public office. So bear with us, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't you go away. Good morning to you, Zeb at the Ranch on this Monday, October 19th. Holy smolies, I can't believe where this month is going. We're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires and service. You stop in and see them today. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Get on the route service, call them today, and they'll come by once a week and pick up your garbage. It's gone, it's out of there. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. That number again, 734-6969. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Hanson Mortuary. Hello, Joel Heward and his family and staff serving you and your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there. They always have the flexible hours to make sure that you are taken care of, and all families are provided the very best possible support and comfort. And again, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Want to remind you real quick before we go to our guest, we're going to have a lot of ads over the next couple of weeks regarding the election, so bear with us if you would, please. And with that being said, I wanted to remind you, too, about our dear friends over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Wonderful, wonderful people, highly trained people. These physical therapists really know how to help you get back to being you. Whether you're recouping from an accident or a surgery, they've got all the exercises. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in this area, and they're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Well, it is Monday. And there is nobody, underline that word, nobody that I trust more than this individual to come on the program and give us honest, straight answers about what's going on politically. And that, of course, is my dear friend, President of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. Good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
Rick, you are, and we've talked off the air, you are the epitome of a good guy. I mean, you really care about people, you really understand the issues, and I think when it comes to asking questions about politics, you're going to give us a straight answer and you're not going to stay along a party line. What is this evidence right now against Hunter Biden and the big guy, possibly Joe Biden, that is being secreted and held back by the media? What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, everybody's innocent until proven guilty. And what we really have are Hunter Biden's assertions to people about what the relationship was. But those assertions are, and this is to a family member, that Joe Biden was taking half of everything he was getting from that Hunter Biden was getting from foreign powers. And he made that assertion to a relative. So that has more credibility than if he was making that assertion to, say, the president of China. Because if he's making it to a foreign power, he's just trying to up the cost and profiteer, and it may not mean anything. But when you make it to a relative about a representation that at least your dad I won't be taking 50% of everything you bring in. When you make that representation to relatives, they can check it out. They can, this is one of those things that's actually a real assertion that's provable or not, and creates real problem, discord in the family if it's not true. So there's a believability to that, and what that means is very simple. It means that Hunter Biden might have was going on Air Force Two on trips. He was bringing back, billion-dollar contract from China, millions of dollars from Ukraine and from Russia, and if Hunter Biden's assertion is true, his dad was getting half, and that is illegal. That goes beyond illegal. That is a straight pay-for-play, and it disqualifies Joe Biden from holding office. It is a felony. If that assertion is true, it's a felony. And the shame of all this is people knew this back when the Democrats were trying to impeach the president on Ukraine. People knew this, and yet nobody, we didn't know the specificity, but the Democrats wouldn't hear of it. They blocked it from being able to be even talked about. And and so the shame of this is that it became partisan rather than back when it was outside of the political context, because Joe Biden wasn't their nominee at that point. And now we're stuck with a situation where the nominee of a party is in fact in a position where they are, from all intents and purposes, compromised. And that is such a huge problem as to be, I don't think we've ever dealt with this kind of problem before.
That being said, how is the problem approached? We are seeing, and I'm holding one of the articles right here in my hand from the Associated Press and written by Eric Tucker, and it appeared in our newspaper Saturday morning, to where basically it was a 5-column story, and they absolutely ridiculed Giuliani, they absolutely ridiculed Donald Trump, they absolutely stood up and said basically in this 5-column story that everything pointing a finger at the Bidens was not necessary. And the headline story, first sentence said, New York tabloids puzzling account. Well, wait a minute. Why call this newspaper, the New York Post, a tabloid? It's one of the oldest newspapers in America. And if there's a problem between the Bidens, father and son, why doesn't the American public need to know now?
Well, I think you know the answer. The answer is that 93% of the media has chosen a rooting interest in Joe Biden becoming president, and more importantly than Donald Trump not being president.
That's right.
Listen, I gave up a long time ago expecting the establishment media to be anything but complete shills for the left. If the same thing came out about Donald Trump in the exact same circumstances,
you would not have been able to even open your laptop without being inundated with stories about it, and that were jumping to conclusions far more so than I was willing to do. And so we know there's a double standard. The AP used to be a neutral source. It hasn't been for 6 years, and for longer than that, since President Obama and Eric Holder actually spied on them to get some of their sources. And AP curled up in a ball and went into the fetal position and didn't fight back. So that happened 7-8 years ago, and AP DC Bureau decided that they needed that, it's something, a cost of doing business, because if they were being spied on by their team, then they just had to put up with it. And I've been befuddled by that at the time, but it's pretty clear that this is no longer, there's no semblance of independent media. Having said that, the facts are the facts. And it is absolutely clear that Hunter Biden traded on his dad's name. That's absolutely clear. It's absolutely clear that he was made millions upon millions of dollars trading on his dad's name. It's also absolutely clear that Joe Biden's net worth, since he left the vice presidency, has escalated dramatically, and he now has, his income was $16 million over the 3 years that he was not running for president, and now he's back down to under $1 million. And it's not because anybody bought a book he wrote. So and it's not because he gave speeches. Those aren't reasons why he's got that income. And it's also clear that he bought a house that the DuPonts used to own on Lake Wilmington. It's a $6.5 million house. He also owns a $2.5 million house in Rehoboth Beach, which is on the beach of the Eastern Shore. And so it's on the Atlantic coast. And so he owns significant properties for a guy that are very expensive for a guy who's been 47 years in politics, making $174,000 a year. That's, $174,000 a year is a lot. When you run in two households, it's not that much. Certainly isn't the amount that you could save up enough to qualify for a loan for two houses, the total mortgage of about $10 million. So people can draw their own conclusions about it, but it is abundantly clear to me that if there was any semblance of a honest media, there would be reporters swarming all over Joe Biden asking him about this, and all over Hunter Biden, and they'd be demanding full disclosure, and they'd be demanding that Joe Biden tell the truth, and that Hunter Biden come before them and explain his emails.
Absolutely.
And we know that they're going to do a holding action until after the election, and because winning is more important than truth. And that doesn't surprise me because I've been dealing with these guys for my whole life.
Absolutely. Rick, I'm going to ask you a favor. We're in political season, so I've got a lot of things I have to slide in here. Bear with me 60 seconds. I'm going to tell everybody to go vote. We, the people, have the civic obligation to choose our leadership. Be sure and vote for the candidate of your choice November 3rd. This message paid by the Re-elect District 27 Representative, Fred Wood Committee, Steve Westfall, Treasurer. Also, real fast, I want to tell everybody when you need to eat, a place to go, the best place to go is Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, and another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Menu choices absolutely amazing. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, desserts anytime, all the time, and coming real soon, all the big turkey dinners and the delicious pies at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. We're on the air with a very, very dear friend of mine, and that's Rick Manning with the Americans for Limited Government. I want to shift gears a little bit and go back to what we saw last week. And
one thing real quick.
Yes.
And if people really want to hit a grand slam, what they should do is go vote and then celebrate by going to Denny's and getting a grand slam breakfast. Because that is the perfect combo. So there, I tied your commercials together.
I'll tell you what, your check is in the mail, Mr. Manning. That was excellent. Thank you. Rick, last week I did, almost in its entirety, the questioning and the buffoonery of the Democrats. And I'm going to say this because, yes, I am picking on her. I think she, and I'm going to mention her name momentarily, is the absolute most dumb senator in the Senate today, and that's Hawaii's Mazie Hirono. Her questioning and her absolute obstinacy was appalling. What were your thoughts about the questions aimed at Amy Coney Barrett?
Well, I have to tell you, there's a lot of competition for stupidest person in the Senate, so I'm not willing to concede that to her, although she's making a good run at it. I think it's despicable. Her questions about asking if she'd ever abused somebody, it was despicable. It was horrific, and it was designed for a specific purpose. It was designed to throw the nominee off and get her kind of flustered, so then she could ask something else and basically throw her off her game. That's what it was designed to do, and it didn't work because the nominee, Judge Barrett, is really composed and on point. But it's one of the lowest tactics that I've seen, and it is and the fact that the people of Hawaii put up with a senator who does that kind of stuff really speaks poorly of them.
Wow. I couldn't have said it better if I'd have sat down and tried to write it for a half a day. Well said. Let's go to the debates, if we may, a little bit. I'm going to leave Amy Coney Barrett alone for just a moment, but I want to go to the debates. Last week, and I'm short on time, I want to ask you about the farce that was called a town hall that was provided on NBC to Donald Trump, and the other farce with nothing but cotton ball questions from George Stephanopoulos on ABC to Joe Biden. It was extremely obvious, left and right, and absolutely siding with Biden.
Oh, there's no doubt. And the revelation that two of the questioners of Joe Biden were actually tied to Democrat. One was a former Obama speechwriter, so he worked directly in the White House with Biden, and the other was was somebody who was involved in Democrat politics through marriage. And so these weren't independent people getting to ask questions. These were hand-picked shills in terms of the Biden press event. So it was you get right down to it. They couldn't even allow for the questions from the audience to be real. Having said that, it's what you'd expect. And I think the big loser in it was Savannah Guthrie, who, this plays a role on TV doing the Today Show, and we actually got to see her in a much less favorable light as somebody who thought their job was to debate the president rather than ask questions of the president.
Mm-hmm.
And that's she thought she was her own little fact checker. And I think a lot of Americans were surprised that even the Today Show was so infiltrated with people of far left views that one of the talking heads on it turns out that they are complete and total. I'm not going to use the word excuse. That they are so slanted that there's no pretense of even being an even arbiter in terms of asking questions.
Let me ask you this, Rick. Would it be more fair to take the names, whether it's, let's say, Hannity, or whether it's Tucker Carlson, or whether it's Jake Tapper, I don't care who they are, and kind of mix them all up, put the names into a hat, and draw out who the moderators will be for the respective debates? Wouldn't that be more fair than the assertion of what we're going to be seeing this Thursday with Kristen Welder, that is absolutely a left wing from the word go? What are your thoughts?
Well, the way I would do it is I do 3 debates, and I would let the campaign, if you have 2 moderators, each campaign picks a moderator. And that way, you know that questions that are going to be asked of both sides are going to be tough, but also you won't be ganged up on a 2-to-1 situation, and both sides will get tough questions. So if the Trump campaign got to have somebody ask Joe Biden questions, and the Biden campaign got to have somebody ask President Trump questions, that would be a fair debate. And it's the only way I can come up with getting rid of this, because 90% of the journalists, so-called journalists, are Democrat, and they're in the business to promote a certain agenda. And as a result, throwing them out of hat gives you a 9 out of 10 chance that you're going to get somebody who's crummy. I'd prefer to have it be honest, and that way, and that's the only way I've come up with doing it.
Absolutely. I like that. I want to go back, as I said I would a moment ago, to the Amy Coney Barrett harassment that took place last week. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what now. I still am very concerned, and maybe I'm concerned without reason, that the Democrats are going to try something before that vote to confirm. What are your thoughts?
I think they will try something. I think that it's... let me tell you what I think they're going to do. There's going to be an attempt this week in the Senate to put a $500 billion COVID relief package back on the floor of the Senate and to pass it. That's what's going to happen. The Democrats, I believe, are going to try to delay that by promising that they're going to do something, and try to delay it in such a way that it pushes the vote on Amy Coney Barrett back from the 26th, 27th, when it's scheduled to occur. Or they're going to force Senator McConnell to have to pull down the COVID relief package in order to vote on the Supreme Court justice, and then not get back to the COVID relief package until after the election. That's what the Democrats are going to try to do. If I did not know that Senator McConnell is a master of the calendar and knows every trick in the book, I would be concerned. Senator McConnell is a master of the calendar, and I would be beyond shocked if the Democrats succeed with any chicanery.
I've got about 2 minutes left, and I want you to expand a little bit. I keep hearing all through the weekend the Democrats, whether it's Chris Coons or whomever it is on television being interviewed, Trump is doing this illegally. He's trying to pack the court with Amy Coney Barrett. Time is not of essence. It can be done after the election, etc. No, I disagree, and tell me if I'm wrong. This is a very important placement of a Supreme Judge right now, because if we end up after the election, it could be a decision that's not decisive in the balloting, and the Supreme Court might get involved. Am I wrong?
I think you're right, and it's absolutely imperative that we have 9. And the fact of the matter is, it's not court packing. Court packing is when you add justices to skew the philosophical balance of the court. They are not adding justices. There are 9. If they want to blame somebody, blame Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who did not retire when people asked her to, during Obama's 3rd year. That was when everybody was begging her to retire on the left, and she refused. So don't blame Donald Trump that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not retire and left the situation vulnerable. Everybody knew she was very ill, and the vacancy came up, and it is important to have 9 because we may have real decisions to be made. And we need to have 9 justices on the Supreme Court.
Absolutely. To the caller that's calling in, I'm sure I'll take your call, but you've got to keep it to 15 seconds. I'm almost flat out of time. Quickly.
All I want is to someday see real justice and fairness in Washington, D.C., and you just wonder if it's ever going to happen. I'll hang up.
Respond quickly, Rick, if you would.
Well, ultimately, Washington, D.C. is who you send there.
Yep.
Send people who fight for that, and then we can talk. Demand that of your elected representative, your 2 senators, and that way you have a much better chance of it happening. And in Idaho, you've got 2 senators, and they should both be fighting, and you can make a judgment as to whether they are or not.
Well said. I look forward to Monday because you're going to always tell it like it is. The president of Americans for Limited Government, dear friend of this program, and I said earlier the check's in the mail. Don't doubt that. You might get something. Rick Manning, God bless you, man. Thanks much.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Zeb.
All right, sir. I have the utmost respect for that gentleman and his knowledge of politics. And believe me, he has the direct knowledge of what's going on with all the idiocy on the Potomac, let me tell you. Hey, don't forget, go vote November 3rd and vote yes for Amendment HJR 4. And leave the number of legislative districts at 35, guaranteeing that our voices will be heard on all issues, and also preserving rural representation. Paid for by Speaker of the House Representative Scott Bedke, District 27, Sarah Bedke, Treasurer. Want to also give you a great big shout out to our friends over at Let's Ride. Oh my goodness, right now, right this very minute, they have got snowmobiles all over the place. I mean, they're ready for winter. And they've got snowmobiles all over Let's Ride at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my goodness. And you know they're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 2. Number to call, 436-4771. All the snowmobiles, all the accessories. What are you waiting for? And don't forget, too, they've got a great service department to keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. This is where the fun is sold. You stop over and see those good folks today. I want to also give a great big shout out to some folks that have been so helpful to Deanne and I. And I'm talking about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24, going into Rupert. Oh, my. The very best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They care. Todd and the whole crew over there, they really, really care and are devoted to serving you. How do you become a client? How do you get the information? Just call them. 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24. In Rupert. Really, really good folks. Let me see. I've got something else I've got to tell you about, too, and I lost my paper. Here it is. Before we go to my dear friend Frosty, I want to remind you about another one of our great representatives in this area, and that's, of course, Clark Kaufman. Clark is asking for your vote to re-elect him as Idaho State Representative, District Seat 25B. Even more, Clark wants you to get out and exercise your right to vote. Absolutely. Clark Kaufman has served Idaho well since 2012, serving you, serving all of Idaho. And in order to logically keep our voices heard, Clark encourages you to vote yes on the constitutional amendment, changing the language to simply require the legislature to consist of 35 districts. Let's all do our part. Get out and vote. Paid for by the committee to re-elect Clark Kaufman for House 25, Seat B, Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Right now it's time for my buddy, and he's back in Golden, Colorado, and that's my friend Frosty Woldridge. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Zeb. It's always a pleasure, and hello to everyone in Radio Land, and hopefully we just bring some more good understandings and even more questions and a few more answers in our discussion today.
Frosty, I'm not going to mince any words today because it is political season and we have a lot of political announcements to make. But I want to spend some time this morning with a great article that you wrote called A Lifetime of Lies, Corruption, and Malfeasance, Joe Biden. I got to tell you, I am very, very worried. I'm scared for my wife and I'm scared for my grandchildren. I'm scared from all my family that the left might win this election and absolutely catapult this country into socialism and total degradation. Am I wrong in my fears?
You are correct, and you are correct on so many levels. For those of you who haven't read this piece, A Lifetime of Lies, Corruption, and Malfeasance, Joe Biden, you can go to newswithviews.com. It just published nationally this morning, and I did a lot of research on Joe Biden, and the reason for that title is exactly the reason that Joe Biden is where he is and is doing what he's doing and is going to do what he's going to do if he reaches the White House. And as President Harry Truman said, you can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook. And I can tell you what, after really researching Joe Biden, the man has lied, so many lies in his life, and he's lied for so long that he can't tell the truth from a lie. and he can't cover it up. And you can go from the Ukrainian oil company deal where he got his son a $50,000 a month job when, Hunter Biden wouldn't know an oil well from an erector set. And the story broke in the New York Post, but Twitter and Facebook did everything they could to cover it up and make sure nobody, discovered it and read about it. And you can go right on down the line. I mean, this man owns 3 different houses worth around $5 million, and the one in called Rehoboth Beach in Delaware is worth $3 million. The man has never worked a day in his life. He's been a politician. You can go right on down the line. And the real tragedy here on this reality of this man is he's attempted rape by Tara Reid back in 1993. He's lied so many times. He lied about his educational experience. He got out of the Vietnam War, it wasn't the Vietnam War. Maybe it was Korea because he's so old. But he got out of the Army by claiming asthma, and he paid off a doctor to do that. So the real tragedy here is the man is really not fit to lead the United States of America. But if he does, the reality is he has open borders. He's already promised to tear down the wall. Kamala Harris, his VP, wants more riots and absolutely supports more rioting and looting in this country. And so you're seeing a complete loss of the rule of law. And again, if he gets in, I've got another dozen parts in this article that I researched that will will tell you that we're in for a nasty ride if he reaches the White House.
I'm going to say something to you, and maybe you might kind of wrinkle your nose and say I'm wrong, but with all the background that's going on with Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, and I honestly think they know that if Joe Biden gets in office, they're going to have to utilize the 25th Amendment, not against Trump now, but against Biden to get him out of there and put in the most left-leaning senator in our United States, and that's Kamala Harris. That's my feeling, and maybe you don't agree.
Well, and that's what I talked about at the bottom of this article. The fact is the average male lives 76.5 years in this country, and Joe Biden is going to be 78, the oldest ever sworn into the office, I believe. I think that's right. And the thing is, the man's frail, and I've seen him on interviews where he fell asleep during the interview. I also saw him on a YouTube interview when he was on The View, and you all know Whoopi Goldberg and all those crazy Joyce Behar or whatever her name is. He was rambling and stammering so badly that they asked him questions, and he was so incoherent, they literally looked at him in horror that the man was not all there. And the reality is he is suffering from whatever level of dementia. Joe Biden's got it. But the fact that he's 78 years old and he's frail, there's no way this man can withstand the unbelievable rigors of the White House. And so, yes, if you're going to vote for the Joe Biden ticket, you're actually voting for a lady named Kamala Harris, whose mother was Indian and her father was Jamaican. She's not a woman of color, which was the reason he picked her. And my question is, why would you pick somebody for their color or their race rather than their qualifications?
Yeah.
Instead, this is one of those, affirmative action picks for VP. And again, I'm astounded. But the reason that Joe Biden won the presidency is because of his name recognition, not because of his qualifications or anything he's done in the last 47 years in Congress.
Let's talk a little bit, before I have to take a commercial break, a little bit about this mess with the computers, with Hunter Biden, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit more. Here is a kid that has absolutely been in trouble. He's a drug addict. He got thrown out of the military. He's caused his parents, and his father especially, a lot of trouble and a lot of money over his lifetime. And all of a sudden, he becomes a guru with energy and gets $83,000 a month, and nobody seems to give a wink and a nod as to the illegalities. Boy, that tells you a lot right there.
It does. It totally does. And again, Hunter Biden, if you talk about nepotism or what you want to call what he did, Joe Biden traded his VP status to get his son this job that he did absolutely nothing. He just sat on a board, and he got paid this horrendous, I mean, literally unbelievable amounts of money. And that's the kind of thing that's going on. And if you look at Nancy Pelosi, I mean, she's worth $124 million, and one of the reasons is because she had insider trading for the last 20 years, last 30 years, even through all the other different wars that she's been there, because she's a fossil. She's been buying the stocks because she knew what kind of contracts for the military were going to be given out, and so she bought into those companies and just made, again, $124 million. But that's been going on for the last 40, 50 years, as these senators and House members know how to make sure they make a lot of money because they're on the inside and they know what's going on, and that's why they buy the stocks. And that's why we need term limits, because so many of them are so corrupt, and we're the ones paying the bill for that. And especially our children, our kids who are going off to war, Afghanistan, and of course George W. Bush's war in Iraq, a complete fabrication. That's what's going on up there, and that's what's happening to us and our kids.
Frosty, you write every day of the week. That's your job, and you're very good at it. I want you to explain to me and my audience your fears about you and I and all of us in that age bracket where we depend now on Medicare. And the whole system could be blown up in our face in a very short period of time if the idiocy and the incompetency of the Democrats prevails with Medicare for all.
That's correct. Let me really help you understand this. If Joe Biden gets in along with Kamala Harris, we're talking about Medicare for all. But the fact is, about 25 million illegal aliens,
yes,
all of their children, all of their families that will be chain migrated into this country will all go on Medicare for all. And these people have not paid in a dime to any of this over a lifetime. The same thing's happening with all the immigrants that are coming in legally every year, and that's over 1 million of them coming in legally. They get to tap into Medicare. They get to tap into EBT cards, electronic benefits transfer, which are food stamps. They get to tap into Section 8 housing. And the problem is the line never ends because they keep pouring in at over 1 million a year. Most of them literally are illiterate. Anybody want to pay for a bushman coming out of Somalia or Congo or the Sudan, and for the rest of their lives they get to be on welfare because they simply have no ability and no skills to function or contribute here in America? And go to Minneapolis, Minnesota. There's 125,000 Somalians. Virtually all of them are on welfare. All of them are on food stamps. And if you remember, a year ago, they had actually scammed the food stamp system for over, I think it was $100 million. You can look it up. It was $100 million. They were actually taking suitcases loaded of cash back over to Somalia on plane rides on our dime. And that's what Joe Biden would do. And I can tell you this, you can sit there and cry and scream whatever you want. Obamacare was never viable. It could never last. It was going to go broke. And if it's Medicaid for all, I guarantee you're going to see unbelievable financial disaster happening to this country. And at some point, the whole system cannot help but collapse on itself from the sheer numbers of people who have not contributed and are not going to contribute, and yet they're taking advantage of Medicare for all. That's what we're facing if he gets into office.
Frosty, with all your writing, like I mentioned a moment ago, and all the people that you talk to and the people that you study on a daily basis, honestly, we're 2 weeks, tomorrow being full 2 weeks away from the election. What's your take? What do you think's going to happen, and what do we need to be prepared for?
Well, if Trump wins, I'm hoping that he absolutely declares these cities and Antifa and BLM internal terrorist organizations in this country, and I mean go and arrest the leaders of these, and I don't care if it's BLM, it's Boogaloo, it's Antifa, and whomever else is starting these riots. go after their leaders, arrest them as internal terrorists, and then go right after, and I mean bring the National Guard in and completely shut them down and put them in prison. I mean, arrest them, prosecute them, and put them in prison, because we cannot have our country completely overwhelmed by anarchy like it has been in Portland and Kenosha, Wisconsin, and certainly in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and Seattle, Washington, and you can just go on down the list there. And then if Biden gets in, I tell you what, we're looking at a disaster that'll be a long-term disaster, because more than likely we're not going to have the kind of riots that all these internal terrorists will do because they got their man into office. But we're going to see the degradation of America as a cohesive and singular republic where we're all pulling in the same direction. We're going to see ourselves fracturing and fragmenting, and it could become violent, which is tragic. And and it's like Kamala Harris said, these riots should be supported and they should be continued. And that's a quote from that lady. So you're seeing a nasty situation if one gets in, and you're seeing a nasty situation if the other gets in. But I can tell you, if Biden gets in, it's going to be the nastiest long-term situation that anyone has ever thought about.
Does it surprise you in the writings and the stories that you've written about politics and illegal immigration and et cetera, does it surprise you that the American public would be so ignorant? I'm not saying all of them, but a large majority would be so ignorant as to look at socialism, look at Biden and Harris, and want to vote for that.
Well, again, most people, unfortunately, don't look at the facts. How many people have gone over to Biden's platform? Because if you go to his website and you go to the Biden platform, you would stand in horror. He wants to put Muslims in at every level in the White House. And of course, if you all remember the Muslim called Barack Obama, who pretended to be a Christian, that guy had a guy named Muhammad Majid. And Muhammad Majid was in the White House along with 10 other Muslims. They had a prayer room in the White House, for God's sakes. I mean, here is a religion that's a political and economic and religious system that's diametrically opposed to women's rights, children's rights, animal rights, choice of spouse, choice of dress, and choice of religion. This is a 6th century barbaric religion that would take away everyone's rights and make them adhere to Sharia law. That is a fact. And yet here's a man, Biden, who's going to put Muslims at every level there in the White House, much like Barack Obama did, and then we'll see more and more of the unbelievable barbarism of Islam and Sharia law manifesting in our own country. If you want that, then vote for Biden. But I can tell you, if you go to a place like Detroit, you're not looking at Detroit anymore. It's a Muslim stronghold. There's no American flags. Same thing if you go to Minneapolis, Minnesota. You won't see America. You won't see Old Glory flying in that place where those 125,000 Somalians are living, and that's because they don't believe in America. They're riding us. They're riding the welfare systems, but they could care less. And not a single one of them has ever read the U.S. Constitution or the Bill of Rights. And I guarantee you this. They want Sharia law. I think it was Jesse Waters 2 years ago from Fox News went out to Minneapolis, and the majority of those guys, the women don't ever get to say a thing, period. The guys absolutely wanted Sharia law installed, and the reason for that is because it's the most misogynistic law on the planet, and it gives men the right to dominate and completely control their women and make them non-beings. And so if you want that, go for Joe Biden. But I'll tell you, it's going to be a nasty, nasty mess in the final analysis as more and more women have less and less rights because of Sharia law manifesting further in our country.
I agree. We've got a caller. I've got 2 minutes left. Caller, real fast. Go. You're on the air.
Okay. Frosty, I know you probably have traveled more in the United States than anybody else, especially on a bicycle. But why do we always hear about Minneapolis and nothing about St. Paul?
Go ahead, Frost.
Great great question. Well, the same thing's happening in St. Paul. Minneapolis, St. Paul, of course, are essentially twin cities. And as you all know, not only have I bicycled all over the United States, but I've been in every state dozens of times because I ran an 18-wheeler for United Van Lines. So I know, and I've worked with virtually every citizen in every state here in America because of that kind of job description, being a teacher for 9 months a year and a truck driver for 3 months every year for over 30 years. And so, again, you have to understand that the American mainstream media is not telling the American people what's actually going on in the guts of America. And so all of the decay, all of whatever is going, you look, most people don't realize it, but Detroit used to be the murder capital of the United States. Guess who's the new murder capital of the United States? St. Louis. St. Louis is now number 1. Detroit's number 3. Chicago's number 2. So you can go to the 10 deadliest cities, and guess what? They're all run by Democrats. And because there's a lack of the rule of law, and also you've got a lot of illiteracy. You've got people that just drop out of school, and unfortunately, these are African Americans. They're not staying in school, and they solve things by shooting each other. And so we need to have law and order remanifested in these cities. And the American people in these cities, whether they're Democrat or Republican, better come to terms with that, or you're going to continue to have more proliferations of St. Louis and Chicago and Detroit and Minneapolis, Seattle, and a complete breakdown of the rule of law. Once we lose the rule of law, we will lose our republic.
Amen.
That's why if you have any common sense at all, not that he's the greatest choice in the world, but Trump is the only choice to be lesser than something like a Biden and Kamala Harris. So that's just my thoughts as a 73-year-old senior citizen who, yes, I've seen this country, and if we keep going the way we're going, it's not going to be pretty for any of us.
Absolutely. Frosty, I hate to run out on you, but I'm out of time, and I'll look forward to next Monday. My dear, dear friend back in Golden, Colorado, Frosty Woolridge, take care. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb. Godspeed.
All right, my friend. Hey, real quick, we're going to go to the weather momentarily, but stand by. I want to remind you, too, don't forget November 3rd, District 24A needs Paul Thompson in the Idaho House. Paul knows we need values established by God, fiscal responsibility, and all life matters. The right to protect ourselves and guaranteed freedom to worship and speak. A strong state education system, and patients are in charge, not politicians. And above all, our Constitution is never second to anyone. Vote Paul Thompson, District 24A, paid for by Paul Thompson for Idaho. Issy Gibbs, Treasurer. Right now it's time for the weather. And the weather is brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. They are the professionals providing accounting services to the Mini-Cache area for well over 50 years. They are the best at what they do with tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning. The list goes on and on about what they can do to help you, your family, and your business. With offices in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Cooling temperatures and maybe some snow showers by the week's end. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies by the time we hit the afternoon, high of 65, and a slight breeze out of the west. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high of 62, overnight low of 41. Mostly sunny and 59 for Wednesday. By Thursday, cooling down to 44 as the day's high. And maybe by Saturday, chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast, only a high of 43. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I got a feeling it might not be a bad idea to crack out the long handles. It's going to get a little chilly this weekend. Weather forecast brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Simply put, they are the professionals in their accounting services to you. And don't forget, they can help all kinds of folks, all kinds of businesses. You get a hold of them today with offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. The professionals, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Holy Holy cow, we're in the Lincoln Hour, and we just about have finished the Lincoln Hour. As I told you earlier, I'm going to go against any name changes. I'm going to highlight and absolutely honor our presidents before us, like Washington, Lincoln, and Reagan. There are those in our country, and even those here locally, that would like to take Washington and Lincoln and Jefferson and get rid of their names. That's why we're going to call each hour the Washington Hour, hour number 1, Lincoln Hour number 2, and the Reagan Hour number 3. Don't like it? Gee whiz, go listen to Barry Manilow. By the way, I had a really nice talk with Curtis over at Patterson's Electronics the other day, and along with all the electronics, and I mean underline the word all in the electronics portion of this ad, because they do have everything: home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, television sets. They also have incorporated now new dehydrated food in stock at Patterson's Electronics. And there's a special of purchases $300 or more, you get 10% off. And with purchases of $600 or more, 15% off. I urge you to stop in and see my friends Curtis and Lorena at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley, open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Wow, what's coming up next hour? We are going to have, I would put in my top 5 guests that we have on occasion, and that's, of course, Dr. Gerard Lamero. And, of course, he's got that brand new book called Real World Socialism. But I wanted to have him back on this morning. And we're going to be talking about all the sleaze, all the grit, all the absolute negative that's going on with the Democratic Party in a total push to get Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the Oval Office in the White House. And so he's going to be coming on telling us and giving us his political analysis on what is going on or what to worry about. That's coming up in the next hour. Then at 10:32, a segment that a lot of people really appreciate, and that's Dog Days, and that's brought to you by the Minidoka Animal Control with Deb Hines and also the Wagon Tails Rescue. So all of that is coming up in the next hour. You leave the dial right here. Zeb at the Ranch, and we're going to head back over to the news, and we'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh, good morning, good morning. And it's allergy and hay fever season during harvest, so bear with us. A little bit of a cough every now and then. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires, and, of course, it goes without saying, the best in service. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you quickly before we go to our guest about 7K Metals. Oh, we are so glad Deanna and I were introduced to 7K Metals months and months ago, and we're helping ourselves build a financial security and future. And, of course, it's a great saving opportunity for us, and it can be for you, and a valued treasure for your loved ones. Don't forget, find out more about silver purchases sent right to your home. Contact Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon at 430-3259. Tell them I told you to call. These are good people telling you about 7K Metals and silver purchases. Want to remind you, too, about our dear friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. My goodness sakes, you know they've got some big things going on over there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And right now is their great big harvest sale. 40% off on furniture, mattresses, dining room sets, and, of course, bedroom sets. Simmons mattresses are 50% off. Oh, you're going to save money. Oh, you're going to enjoy the comfortization and beautification of your home because you stopped in and participated in the big harvest sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. One of my very favorite people and a man that I absolutely trust with his political analyst attitude, and that's, of course, Dr. Gerard Lamero with his new book, Real World Socialism. Dr. Lamero, good morning to you.
Good morning. How you doing?
I am great, and the reason I wanted you on this program this morning, we are 2 weeks away from, I think, the most decisive, the most divisive election ever in this nation's history. What are your thoughts?
I think it's not only that, but it's also the most important, with ramifications that go back 200 years. Because back in 1789, that was a big presidential election where we decided to ratify the Constitution and live by that wonderful document we have. And this election, it's the same thing all over again. We've got the Democratic Party that is adopting socialism and wants to change this country fundamentally, and the Republican Party and Donald Trump wants to protect us and keep the Constitution. This election is about, do we want the Constitution? I think it's a big deal.
Dr. Lamero, it goes without saying that you are an excellent author and political analyst. But really, what are you hearing in your circle of friends and outside of your circle of friends in your area? I mean, do you think that this will be a victory for Trump, or are we going to subject ourselves to total chaos with the Biden-Harris in the White House?
Well, answer it two different ways. The first is I have a lot of indications that Trump will win. The indications are Trump will win by a large amount. However, expect trouble after the election when Trump does win, because the anarchists, the militant Marxists, and those who have been rioting in the cities, their plan is if Trump wins, they want to riot some more. And what will have to happen is we've got to essentially say none of this is going to happen anymore. Trump will have to put his foot down, and Republicans around the country will say, we will not tolerate rioting and anarchy in the streets. But I think they will try to do that because they want to somehow change the election.
With the rioting and the anarchy, whether it's the despicable Black Lives Matter or Antifa or any other group, do you think that has hurt the Democrats, or has it just kind of settled in the nest and people expect it from the Democratic Party?
Well, they do expect it, but it's actually hurt them a lot, because a lot of Democrats were good Americans. They might have disagreed on some policies here and there. Some of them believed in government solutions and wanted higher taxes. But you know what? Most of the Democrats in the Democratic Party basically wanted the Constitution. They want their freedom of speech. They want their freedom of press. They want their right to keep and bear arms. Most Democrats are not bad people. They've unfortunately elected some goofy people over the years, but let's face it, the Democratic Party has gone off on its own, and it's left the Democratic Party faithful to be on their own too, and they're just basically going to Trump. They're leaving that party.
You know, there's one question I wanted to ask you this morning that I don't think you and I have addressed on numerous times in the past that you've been on this program. And I'll phrase it like this. And Sean, we've got a little feedback on the line. Please help me. I am absolutely outraged, and I despise the Chinese government for what they have done to the rest of the world and what they have done to humanity with the releasing of this Chinese virus. Yet, through all the turmoil, the only finger pointing that goes on, it seems, is against our President Donald Trump. I am sick of this.
I agree with you, and I think that there's more going on. I think that some Republicans in the House and the Senate plan to make China pay for it. There are a lot of things that we can do to make life a little harder for them. And seeing as how they went and let this happen to us, I think we're going to have to repay them. And I think there are people who are going to withdraw manufacturing deals with them and other things. They're going to pay a price for this. And I think Donald Trump is also going to really ask people in other countries to go along with us and make China pay for what they've cost the world.
Since you've written the last book, Real World Socialism, Spiritual, Moral, and Economic Bankruptcy Sold by Using False Hopes and Deceit, have you sat down and thought many times about all the different addendums that you could have put in that book that have happened since it was released?
Well, you can always do that with any book. I haven't gone out of my way to do that. Once I thought, well, maybe I'll write a book more Real World Socialism to continue it, and that's a possibility. I'm trying to decide what will be my next book, and I've got different possibilities.
You know, when you sit down and you analyze your book, Real World Socialism, and it's become a handbook for me on this program, it must be amazing to you, a scholar and an author and an analyst, why and how the American people can be duped into thinking socialism would be good for the United States.
Well, if all they hear are a lot of mumbo-jumbo from college professors that say, oh, it's wonderful, everybody gets, free this and free that, people like to think that there's such a thing as a free lunch, but there isn't anything as a free lunch. People have to pay a price sooner or later. Socialism, the price they pay is bankruptcy for the country, because they always go bankrupt. That's why I said in the headline there, spiritual, moral, and economic bankruptcy. Because it's not only just economic bankruptcy, but you know what? The country that goes socialist, they become corrupt, and morally and spiritually they go bankrupt as well.
I want to ask you about Dr. Fauci. This headline was in our paper this last week, and it just irritated me that Dr. Anthony Fauci said that Americans should rethink their usual plans for Thanksgiving. It might not be prudent to honor and hold that holiday. What were your thoughts when you heard that story?
Insane. It's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. He's been wrong so many times. He tells us masks are good, masks are bad, this and that. And he's just all over the map. He just shoots from the hip and doesn't think too much before he talks. And I think holidays are important, and the chances of getting this virus are low. The chances of dying from it are really low. We now know that, unless you happen to be over 85 and pretty darn ill. Most people get over it. They do well. This has been overblown for political purposes, and he's helping to stoke the flame.
Last week, of course, everybody, myself, that is involved in radio and news and politics, I was glued to the TV screen and watched the hearing for Amy Coney Barrett for the Supreme Court Justice seat. I was appalled as to the low class and low personality that was displayed by many of the Democratic Party. What were your thoughts?
Well, I thought they treated her better than Kavanaugh, but they still treat her pretty poorly, and it's a sign of who they are and what they believe in, and they sure don't believe in anybody who's Catholic who believes in pro-life. I mean, that came out pretty obviously. I think they're just terrible, and the kind of people they want to put on the court are rubber-stamp leftists, and they do not want a constitutional conservative. But we know that now.
You know, from your study of the Constitution and our values and our wonderful Supreme Court at 9 justices, the Democrats have swayed much of the public into thinking that what Trump is doing is illegal, which it is not. He's still the president, regardless of what happens in the election. And another thing that needs to be elaborated on, and I want you to talk about it, it would be a total mistake to go into this election, as hotly contested as it may be, with only 8 Supreme Court justices.
Yes, you're right. Well, first of all, let's come up with some facts. I like the facts. The facts are that 29 presidential election years, there was a vacancy in the Supreme Court. 29 times. 19 of those times, the party in the White House and the party in the Senate were identical. Same party. And out of those 19 vacancies, the president made 19 appointments, and 18 or 17 got through, and the other 1 or 2 didn't make it. But most of them got through. Just like this year, Amy Coney Barrett should get through, too. Now, in 10 presidential election years, the White House party and the Senate party were different. For example, Barack Obama and a Republican Senate in 2016. In those 10 cases, 10 presidents picked 10 people for the Senate, and you know what? Only one got passed. So it made sense that they didn't pass Barack Obama's person back in 2016 because they were of different parties. And the party in the Senate wanted to wait until the new president got there. They did. And this time, Amy Coney Barrett should get confirmed just like most of the others did as well. So historically, he's doing exactly what every other president has done.
Absolutely.
Nothing different, and certainly nothing unconstitutional. That's ridiculous.
Well, speaking of that, though, I got to tell you, Doctor, that I'm very concerned because I don't trust the Democratic Party. I don't trust the Schumers. I don't trust the Nancy Pelosi's right on down the line because I understand that they may be pulling some kind of dirty work, some kind of tricks leading up to the voting on October 26th and 7th.
Well, you can expect something. That's their nature, and they will probably come up with something. You know, maybe they'll say she's a Russian spy or something crazy, because they come up with something crazy. But I think that Republicans are expecting it, and there's no way the Democrats can stop a vote and the Republicans can go ahead and vote and just say, oh, this is a lot of malarkey, and call it what it is.
I want to ask you a little bit here this morning about the phony, fraudulent debates that are centered left to far left with the moderators and the way that they've treated Trump and the way that they treated Vice President Pence. And we've got another debate coming up this Thursday that looks like it's going to be moderated by another far lefty, Kristen Welter. What are your thoughts about these debates?
Well, they sure aren't. Aren't fair. That's for sure. And I think the Republican Party needs to start negotiating better terms because to have these people, you know, Chris Wallace was against Trump the whole time in that first debate, and Chris Wallace is a registered Democrat. That's no surprise he would favor Biden, which he did. And the Steve Scully from C-SPAN, he used to work for Joe Biden. He was supposed to take care of the second debate. And turned out he lied about his Twitter being hacked and things like that. He put out some bad stuff against Trump, and he tried to hide it. They shouldn't have picked him. I don't think any of these people are fair and objective, and they need to go out of their way to find somebody a lot better. And I do not think that any Republican, Trump or anyone else in the future, should ever allow it to happen again, that they are stuck with unfair moderators. It's just utterly ridiculous.
Let me ask you a little bit about what's going on with the Biden family and the lost computer that has been found and the emails and the pornography and all the videos and everything to Hunter Biden that has been a lost child for the Bidens as far as drug abuse and getting kicked out of the military and everything. But they have found emails that show that he received the money from a foreign source of obtaining a job of $83,000 a month, of which one email said half of which has to go to the big guy, and I'm assuming that's Daddy Joe. What are your thoughts about this mess?
Well, I'll tell you, it looks like when you see all these emails in the news and that, it appears like Biden is running a crime family. He's like the mafia. He's like the godfather of a crime family. They're all getting money off of his vice presidency when he was vice president, and they were all getting rich. He would get assigned to a country, and then that country would be basically had their arm twisted to pay off his son money, and then they got what they wanted from the U.S. I tell you, it sounds a little bit like treason. It sounds a little bit like bribery. It sounds a little bit like racketeering. It sounds a little bit like RICO, and it sounds a whole lot like a crime family. And I think this is really terrible for the Biden family, and I think all of them probably need to be brought up on charges after the election's over, and they can go ahead and hand it over to the prosecutors, because this is ridiculous behavior. If even half of it's true, it's terrible.
Your book, and for that matter, all your books, really lay it on the line as to what is truth and what is factual regarding the various subjects politically of our time. But I got to ask you this. How in the world and why in the world did our education system from kindergarten all the way through the university system become so biased to the left and preaching so much socialism? Where did we drop the ball in stopping this and stymieing this a long time ago?
That's a great question. Well, to begin with, let's talk about where it started. It started in the universities. Some university professors fell in love with Marxism. They bought into it. It was theoretically wonderful. Everybody gets, exactly what they need. The government takes care of them because they're so smart. There's where it started. And unfortunately, the school teachers go to the colleges with the Marxist professors. So it filtered down to K through 12 because the teachers were taught by these Marxist professors. That's how it got started. Now, where we went wrong is Americans need to see that the right people are elected to our school boards. And there are places in the country where conservatives are taking over the school boards and forcing the teachers to teach things like the Constitution and true American history. We need to do that all over the country. We should not have liberals running school boards when they teach this kind of terrible stuff about our country, which is untrue. And then people who are alumni of universities, they ought to put pressure on those universities to hire conservative professors, not just a bunch of radical leftists, Marxists, communists. They've got to basically do the same thing. They've got to put pressure on them. So we need to do that, not as a hobby, but as a real chore. We've got to make the school boards teach American ideals. We need the universities to do the same.
How do we do that? I'm not trying to beleaguer this conversation, but how do we do that? How do we get our foot in the door? Or how do we sit down in the seat and look these administrators in the eye and say, this had better change now, and develop a pride and country attitude? How do we do that?
Well, we have to do things like contact the Alumni Association, put pressure on them. I mean, alumni are famous for putting pressure on to get better football teams. We certainly ought to put pressure on to get better teaching teams. That's more American than that. School boards is pretty easy. All you have to do is find some good conservatives and run them for school board and get rid of any of the ones that are being supported by teachers' unions and supported by Marxists and communists and leftists. And there are school boards that have successfully gotten rid of them and are taken over by conservatives with conservative principles and American principles. That's what we've got to do.
Absolutely. We have a call with a question. I'm down to 2 minutes. Go ahead, caller. Quickly, you're on the air.
Just stumbled in, Zeb. I got thinking about these liberal programs that are sent out to homeschooling kids, and I'll listen on. Thank you, Zeb.
Talk about that, if you would, please, Dr. Lamero. The homeschooled on the computer, etc., and all the very left-wing information sources they're subjected to.
Well, you gotta shop around for the right stuff. Hillsdale College and certain places are famous for putting out good stuff. Prager University puts out good 5-minute films that people are using that have really turned the tide. In many cases, they've had a lot of people convert from being socialist back to being American because they've listened to some of the Prager University videotapes. And you just basically have to get the right material. You got to review it. If it's a bunch of socialist claptrap, you get rid of it.
I absolutely enjoy having you on the air, my dear, dear friend, Dr. Gerard Lamero, latest book, Real World Socialism. Thank you so much, and God blessings to you, sir, and come back soon. Thank you so much.
Thank thank you, and God bless you and all your listeners.
All right, sir. Thank you. Every time I get him scheduled on my program, it's a real treat because he absolutely tells it like it is. Dr. Gerard Lamero, thank you very much. Hey, got to remind you right now about some of our great political information we're trying to keep you abreast of. Vote November 3rd, and be sure to vote yes for the levy increase for the Rock Creek Fire District. Don't forget, they are always there to serve us. Now, let's help them. Vote yes for the Rock Creek Fire District levy, paid for by Rock Creek Firefighters Association. Want to also give you a great big shout out about some more of our great people that are running for public office to serve both you and I. And another one is a good friend of ours, Mr. Clark Kaufman. Clark Kaufman asks for your vote to re-elect him as Idaho State Representative, District 25, Seat B. Even more, Clark wants you to get out and exercise your right to vote. Clark Kaufman has served Idaho well since 2012, serving you and all of Idaho. In order to logically keep our voices heard, Clark encourages you to vote yes on the constitutional amendment, changing the language to simply require the legislature to consist of 35 districts. So let's all do our part. Get out and vote. Paid for by the committee to re-elect Clark Kaufman for House 25 and Seat B. Clark Kaufman and Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Right now, we're going to send this back over to our main studio for a break at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back with Dog Days in just a few moments.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Good morning and welcome back to our last half hour. Excuse me. Zeb at the Ranch on this Monday, October 19th. And right now, we're going to run over to Minidoka Animal Control and talk to Deb Hines. Good morning, Deb. How are you? And everybody's backing up.
I'll recall her.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Deb Hines with Minidoka Animal Control and also the Wagon Tails Rescue. We thank those good folks for bringing us Dog Days. And we're going to have Deb on the phone momentarily and talking about dogs that need to find new homes. And you might be one of those owners. So we'd like to talk about that for a few minutes. And let's save some of our great canine friends. And that's what Deb does every week on this segment of Dog Days. So we're trying to get her back on the phone, and Sean will yell, scream, and holler when we get her on that phone line.
She's on the line.
I appreciate it, Sean. Thank you. Good morning, Deb. You had me scared for a minute.
Sorry, I was outside in the wind. I didn't mean to hang up on you.
Oh, that's all right. Listen, we've had a lot of calls here, and people are saying, boy, that's nice to talk about these dogs that are looking for homes and all the dogs that you feature. What's the situation this morning? Are we doing any good?
Okay, yeah, we've been getting dogs adopted. I've got some new ones in the other day, 2 of which came from an abandonment.
Oh, my.
That's Huckleberry Killing. Anyway, I have a little Palm Cross and a little Terrier.
Now, I did not understand that.
Left, and the neighbors took care of them for a little while, but they couldn't keep them, so I got them the other day.
Okay. Now, explain that again. I don't think I heard you correctly. It's a little what kind of a cross?
Pardon me?
I did not understand what kind of a cross you said it was. What, a pound cross or palm cross?
Pomeranian.
Oh, Pomeranian. Okay.
Yeah, a little one. And then a Terrier cross.
Okay. And
they're both house trained.
Okay.
And they are sweet, lovable little things. They just want to be with a family, and you got to feel bad. I mean, I can't believe the people just left them. I guess they left 5 dogs.
So, in other words, Deb, in this particular circumstance, the family, if you want to call them that, they just left the dogs at the house location and they're gone. Adios. What happened?
They moved.
Wow.
They moved to another location, didn't want the dogs, left them where they were. So, but like I said, thankfully the neighbor took the dogs, got all but the 2 of them homed, and brought me the other 2, which is fine because they are small or lovable, and I can get them, we'll get them adopted. But yeah, another one of those famous "you got to be kidding me" things.
Yeah, really. Let me ask you, have you named them so people can call in and ask for them by name?
Nope, I have not.
Okay.
I'm kind of running out of names, I'll be honest with you. And by the way, the one you named got adopted that day.
Well, wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, now, on this Palm Cross...
That was fun. I loved it.
On this Pomeranian cross, now you say it's going to be a small dog, stay a small dog. How big actually will it be?
I think, well, I'm pretty sure this little girl's full grown. She might be maybe 2. She might weigh 10 pounds on a good day.
Okay.
This is a tiny, tiny little girl. Tiny little girl.
And you said both of these dogs,
very loving.
both of these dogs are housebroken, right?
Very, yes.
Okay. Now, what about the terrier?
Terrier in the office with me, and it's already been to the door twice going, hey, I want out. She did. She went right out, went potty, and came right back.
All right. What about that terrier cross? What does is it a short-haired dog, long-haired dog? Tell us.
It's they're kind of a short-haired dog. They've got wiry hair. The other thing with these guys are terriers do not shed as much as other dogs. So anybody that needs something that's kind of hypoallergenic or whatever, these are a good dog. Along with a poodle, you know what I mean? Their hair doesn't be, you can't pull it out in clumps or anything. They don't shed that bad.
Okay. I got some names for you. Are they male or female?
Female.
Okay, I was going to say we could call them Pancho and Lefty, but let's call one Dolly and the other one Reba.
Gotcha.
Okay. So it's Dolly and Reba.
Dolly will be my terrier, and Reba will be the other one.
Okay, gotcha. What other dogs do you want to feature this morning besides the little one, the Pomeranian, and the Terrier Cross?
Okay, I've got a big guy named Lobo.
Lobo.
He's a red, Lobo. He's a red husky. He is house trained. He is awesome with other dogs. He doesn't even mind cats, which, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't.
Right.
But he needs a yard. He just needs somebody to play with.
Now, you said he's a red husky, and I've got to ask you, Deb, I don't think I've ever seen a red husky.
Well, they've got the white but instead of the black highlights, they've got that bright red highlight, and he's got beautiful blue eyes.
Okay. And what kind?
Really cool dog.
What kind of a family situation would he fit into?
He loves people, and I think he would do awesome with older kids.
Okay.
But he might even do well with younger ones. It's just if he jumps, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
I just don't want him jumping on a little kid and hurting him. But
sure.
He loves to be with people.
Now,
and he's going to be exceedingly protective of his family. I'll guarantee it.
That's good to know. In this day and age, that's really good to know. Now, these dogs,
It's a plus here.
Absolutely, absolutely. These 3 dogs that we've mentioned are just a small portion of the dogs that you have over there. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir. I am loaded for bear again.
I just don't understand. I'm going to go back and revert back to that family that just packed up and left those dogs at home when they moved elsewhere. I can't even understand the mindset of somebody having animals, whether it's dogs or cats or horses or whatever, and just running away. I mean, wow, that just blows my mind.
I know. See, you and I think alike. I just keep thinking, and every parent in the world will understand this. At some point in time, we have all said, I'm going to put you up for adoption. We've all done that. But we never would. how on earth can you get rid of something that is so loving and so giving as an animal that no matter what you do to them, they never, ever turn on you? How can you walk away?
Yeah.
How can you pack up and walk away?
I just don't understand it at all myself. And let's talk, just for the time remaining, about a group that is working with you hand in glove, and that's the Wagon Tails Rescue. How do they play a part with Minidoka Animal Control?
Well, they actually help me a lot with my spay and neuters. Like I've said before, we help get anything that's adopted here. We give them a certificate. They fill out the certificate. When it's time to get that dog to get spayed or neutered, it only costs the new owner $25. She also helps me a ton with my grants and donations and stuff when we're looking to do something, get donations for things like one of my really major donators that she got for me, Wagon Tails got for me, is Stella's rescue fund out of Ketchum, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And I cannot tell you how phenomenal these people are and some of the things that they have done for this shelter. And they are not afraid to assist us with anything, and they were brought to us by Wagon Tails Rescue.
Very good.
In fact, Wagon Tails and them work closely together on a lot of stuff.
These little dogs, the Pomeranian Cross and the Terrier Cross, Dolly and Reba, what do people do to obtain an excellent house dog, an excellent family dog, and take care of the dog today? What do they do? How do they get a hold of you?
Just call us at 208-438-2200. We're open. We'll be here until 1. If you want to come look at them, just call me and let me know. They've had their shots. As soon as they get adopted, we'll get them scheduled for a spay or neuter, for their spay. And, if not, I don't keep the dogs here till they're fixed. I send them home with you, the person, so that they can get used to their family.
Absolutely. On the Red Husky Lobo, hear you talk about this dog, it sounds like he's just begging for a home, a farm, a ranch, or a dairy to be a part of.
Oh, I'm sure he would be lovable that way. He loves to run and play with other dogs. But like I said, he is definitely a super family member and a great he'll take care of you.
Absolutely.
He's not going to be like my 2 big dogs that I've got here that should be protective. They will be to a certain extent, but again, this guy's going to take care of you always.
Absolutely. Deb, I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you do. I mean, it's heartfelt that I tell you how much you are doing a great service, not only to our society and our community, but also the dogs and the potential owners of the dogs. And what about the needs of Minidoka Animal Control? Is there anything the general public can do to assist you or help you?
Well, we can always use food donations, blankets, and not new ones, blankets, towels, whatever, anything that needs to be used. We use that stuff to put in with our little people and our bigger dogs in the winter to keep them off the concrete floors. So whatever anybody would like to do for us, we will definitely be more than happy to accept.
I tell you, I appreciate this lady and what she does. And don't forget, the dogs that we featured for today were the little females. We had a Pomeranian Cross named Reba and the Terrier Cross named Dolly. And then, of course, a great Red Husky called Lobo. And I really appreciate it, Deb. God bless you, and I hope all goes well in finding those dogs new homes.
Thank you, Zeb. You have a great week.
I will. Thank you so much. Same to you. Ladies and gentlemen, check on those dogs today. Get a hold of Minidoka Animal Control and ask for Deb or anyone there can help you. And let's find those dogs a brand new home. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm having a hard time putting my pulse on this one, because how can you pack up and leave and just leave and let the dogs stay there at the property? You have to be one cold-hearted Expletive, expletive, expletive. I'm just going to let it go at that. Oh, my. Hey, it's time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The telephone number to call, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. All the meats, and boy, I'm telling you, we're getting close to the holidays for all the hams and all the turkeys and all the different flavored bacons. And, of course, the pork ribs and the tri-tips and the sausage. Oh, the list goes on and on. Check it all out. It's absolutely delicious from Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Cooling temperatures and maybe some snow showers by the week's end. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting partly sunny skies by the time we hit the afternoon, high of 65, and a slight breeze out of the west. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low of 43. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high of 62, overnight low of 41. Mostly sunny and 59 for Wednesday. By Thursday, cooling down to 44 as the day's high, and maybe by Saturday, chance of rain and or snow showers in the forecast, only a high of 43. That's a look at your weather for 7th and 8th.
Holy moly, I guess it's that time of the year where we're going to have to start listening and paying attention to some bad, chilly weather. The weather forecast brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don Scarrow and his excellent staff at 331 North Road, Jerome. Like I said, go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, or give them a call at 324-7657. At Scarrows Meats, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Want to remind you, too, about our dear friend, Representative Scott Bedke. Go vote November 3rd and vote yes for Amendment HJR4 and leave the number of legislative districts at 35, guaranteeing that our voices will be heard on all issues and also preserving rural representation. Paid for by Speaker of the House Representative Scott Bedke, District 27, Sarah Bedke, Treasurer. I've got time for some phone calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There was a story that came across my desk last week, and it just infuriates me because it is so ridiculous. The Edmo case here in Idaho, where this low-life pervert, and that's what I'm going to call him, was arrested as a male, and then when he got into prison, this Edmo requested and demanded that he obtain sex reassignment surgery. And I said at the time when this happened, I said, absolutely not. This negative committed the crime that he had committed as a man, and he was sentenced as a man and should serve time as a man. But do you realize the Supreme Court declined to honor Idaho and bid to overturn the transgender inmate case, and so we as citizens of this state have spent over $450,000 of taxpayer money for the ridiculous sex change of this Edmo. And our governor has said, too, the taxpayers of Idaho should not have to pay for a procedure that is not medically necessary. And I'm adamant that if this whole thing could have been settled out on the ranch, and you get my drift. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, what was he convicted of?
I think it was child molestation, I believe.
Oh, yeah, because I don't know anything about his past, and I thought, why don't they just cut him loose? Let him pay for his own surgery.
I don't understand how something like this, a sexual perversion case that was committed as a male, could go through the court system, and you and I and the taxpayers have to pay almost $500,000 for this idiocy of a sex change so that this person can go to a woman's prison and now reside the rest of their lives in and of being a woman.
That makes no sense to me at all. I totally agree with you. It's just crazy.
Well, our money is we could better spend.
Frosty Woolridge have a website?
He does. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I would say the easiest way to check it out is go to frostywoolridge.com, and if I just don't have it right in front of me, or I'd hand it to you right away.
No, that's okay. I just I wanted to know that while I had you on the phone, but I agree with you on this. To pay that kind of money for an operation that wasn't medically necessary is crazy.
You want to hear something crazier? Sean, we got a little feedback here on the line. Help me a little bit if you would. Here's something that's crazy about this story, that Edmo was permitted to start hormone therapy, and then her lawyer argued that the denial became so unbearable that we, the citizens of the state of Idaho, said no and heck no, that this person, Edmo, tried twice to castrate himself. I tell you, it could have been handled a lot cheaper out on the ranch, anywhere, anytime.
Yeah, one of those devices they use on the cows.
You got it.
Okay, well, thanks. I'll let you go.
All right, take care. This is so insane that we are spending that kind of money to do that kind of thing that is absolute any normalcy. $500,000 that comes out of our pockets as taxpayers? Totally ridiculous. Throw that one in file 13. I've still got time for a call or two. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is a never-ending supply of idiocy that pours out of the bottle. Caller, quickly, I've got 2 minutes. Go ahead.
You betcha. That's where the American citizen should file a lawsuit against that judge and have him prove where it states in the Constitution that it is the taxpayer's responsibility to do this stupid stuff.
Well, you know as well as I do, it doesn't say that at all.
It doesn't. And where in the law does it say that we have to do this?
Yeah.
That judge is not a judge. He is an advocate. He is a arm of the liberal left that want this stuff to happen. And that judge should be held accountable for his actions taken against the citizens of Idaho.
Well, it boils down to simplicity for me, Doug. He committed the crime as a male. He's going to serve time as a male. If he gets out of prison, what he does with his own body at that time, I couldn't care less.
Exactly, but it's on his dime.
Absolutely.
It's what he wanted, it's on his dime.
My milk of human compassion and kindness is dry. I took it out of the refrigerator.
Exactly, buddy.
All right, take care.
Givers got to set limits because takers never do.
You got it, buddy. Thank you so much.
You bet. God bless.
Caller number 2 quickly, and then I've got to take a break and end the show. Go ahead fast.
That judge ought to be impeached, disbarred, and his retirement taken away from him. Period. That's it.
To say the least. Doc, God, it's good to hear from you, my friend. Take care of yourself. God bless. I like that, man. He tells it like it is, and he's very short and succinct. Thank you very much. We're going to be short and succinct and tell you to go to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Why? Because they've got the best in tires. Why? Because they've got the best in brake service and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. Why? Because they give you the best in service. There you go. Stop in and see them today. Well, that's about all I'd have to say, because they are the best at what they do. And now with the transition coming along in the weather, you'd better be prepared. Yes, they have all the batteries. Yes, they have the best in brake service with highly trained technicians. Yes, they've got all your tires that you need for whatever the weather throws at you. Stop in and see James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, Trent on Overland and Burley, my buddy, all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. What's on the program? I know. Somebody out there said, you run. Yeah, I don't know. That's an oxymoron. Tomorrow on the program, Dan Kish, a gentleman by the name of Craig Huey, Dr. History, and a great story from the Pacific Legal Foundation. Don't miss all of this coming up tomorrow on the show. We always end the program by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me are in God we trust, and we don't back up from that for anybody. Take care. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. Have a good one.